energetic healings, I think, is the best word for it.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen, but you know it will turn your life upside down, basically.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how strong energy is and how far away we are from traditional medicine right now.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's episode on Carpe Diem Living the Podcast. I am your host, Shane Gitmed, and today we have a very special guest named Ananda. And really cool, I just have to point out, she's actually in Belgium right now, so this is pretty awesome, especially since I've never been there. I've always wanted to go to Europe, but yeah, this is just so cool. So Ananda, take it away. Tell us about you and what you do.
Well, my name is Ananda. I'm 26 years old and I'm from the Netherlands, but I live in Belgium. I moved 2 years ago. In the daily life, I'm a CRM manager, and on the side, I really enjoy working on myself, working out, and I just published a poetry book as well in order to inspire and help other people. So, a bit about me. I've recovered from an eating disorder, but during my recovery process, I never went to a doctor because I knew deep down that it was not about the food. There must have been underlying issues, or the symptoms that my body was showing me were patterns that I had to fix. So instead of going to a doctor who would, because I lost my period, that's how I started my journey to self healing. I knew that if you would go to a doctor, they have to say like, "Oh, take the pill," or just eat more. But it's not that straightforward.
Right.
So I worked with a lot of coaches, people who looked at my energy, people who did Reiki. Um, yeah, just more holistic approach, looking at what I was eating, what my body could process easily, what I could not process easily. So it's been quite a journey, but honestly, it's been very rewarding. And what I always say is like, it's amazing that throughout this journey you also get to connect like with people around the world, like you're on the opposite side of the world, which is pretty cool.
So awesome, right? And you're like on a complete different like time. Like you're at like 9 p.m. your time and it's only noon here. So it's just so crazy. But oh my gosh. So I mean, okay, so you lost your period. For how long did you not have your period for?
I think about a year.
Wow.
So I've always kind of wanted to control my food, because I was always scared to like gain weight or to lose control, which
Right.
actually you're not really in control, right? It's just
Yeah.
trick your mind does. um, but I didn't want to make the choice whether to have kids or not at that time. And even though it's also, there's something when you don't have your period, it's also kind of easy, but I was like, something is unnatural about this. I need to fix it.
Right, right. That's what I thought too, is like for some women it's like, oh great, I would love to not have a period. But in reality, your body needs to release that. Like we have it for a reason. So yeah, tell us more about like the journey with that.
Yeah, I think it was very much also about getting back into my feminine energy. Um, us females, like someone once said to me, the female body is kind of like Mother Earth as well. And you see a lot of females struggling with either being feminine, having like the feminine forms, the softness, because we're in a very masculine world, or either losing their period or being out of touch with their emotions. And you see it in Mother Earth too. So Mother Earth is becoming less fruitful. So if we as women start to heal, the earth will heal too.
Wow.
But really, what I tried to do in the beginning was like affirmations and really believe that I would get it back, tune in with my feelings, take more self care, have more fun in life. Um, but what really helped me was working with a coach, who looked at trauma stored in the body and basically going to that trauma and releasing it into more delight, so to say. So I
Yeah.
feel like there I made a lot of progress.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that because what I've learned about trauma is not only can it go far into your subconscious, but it's also in your muscles. It like literally can stay within your body. And I mean, I've gone to therapy. I've seen therapists in that way, but that's only one layer. You know, like talking about it is one thing, which is of course part of your healing. So you can feel, you know, really own that story and not be ashamed of it, right? But at the same time, it's like there's so much more work that can be done to really recover. And so that's great. Like you started with the positive mantras, and that's very important for women because we tend to really, you know, we like to criticize ourselves. We want to look a certain way, we want to act a certain way. And you said it right on, you said it so true. Like we live in a very masculine world, and it's like we're trying to navigate and figure out how we can be feminine but not too feminine, to be have some masculine traits but not too masculine. So it's like we're always trying to find that right balance to where we can fit in. So wow, that's so crazy about losing your period. I'm still blown away by that because I know some people that have lost it because they were on like birth control, but if you just lost it completely on your own, that's crazy. So
Yeah.
so when you did the positive mantras and you were really like releasing that trauma, then it just came back on its own?
Well, I wish it was that easy, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh,
That's why I'm
magic,
like,
it
I
came
want
back.
to know. Yeah.
No, I quit the pill, but I was under eating and over exercising. I was putting a lot of stress on my body, and I spoke with other women who lost it, and it's usually about putting stress on your body. So even if you're at a perfectly healthy weight, you can still lose your period because you might put your body under a lot of stress. You might over exercise or not eat right for your body or have stressful situations in your life because stress in a certain form it's good for the body, right? If you go into the gym, you increase your weights, but that's short-term stress. But if your body is under constant stress, it basically shuts off functions like your period. Like, okay, your body cannot carry a child right now because there's too much other things going on.
Right,
But
right.
I think it's so cool that it can also get it back. And positive mantras are one thing, but you have to feel them and believe them.
True.
So I think that's the most difficult part. Like everybody's like, yeah, you should write positive affirmations. And yeah, okay, anybody can write positive affirmations, but how are you really going to believe them? Like, where are your emotions stored? So I feel like it's a lot of tuning in with your body. I even notice it now when I'm stressed. The first thing, it's my stomach, my gut, nothing moves.
Yes, yes. Like when I'm stressed, like I've said this in other episodes where like I don't breathe regularly. Like sometimes I hold my breath and then I just feel really tight in my stomach, almost like I'm like clenching myself. So then it affects your gut, it affects your digestion, like, and then it just slows your metabolism. It's literally a domino effect. So, and it's crazy because we hear it all the time, like, don't stress, don't stress. But man, that is not that easy to do when our lives just move so quickly. And, you know, if you have a million responsibilities, like for me, I have a toddler at home, I have 2 dogs, I have like multiple, you know, things that I'm in charge of. It's just, it's wild. So I can't even, I can't even imagine. So yeah, I think that's, you know, I really have to add to that, like really owning those mantras, believing them, applying them even, you know, because yeah, like you said, it's so easy just to write it down and then it goes nowhere. You're just like, okay, cool. And related to that, so you write poetry. So tell us how you got into poetry and your poetry book. Like I've never met a poet, so this is so interesting to me. Please tell me more.
It's still strange when people call me a poet because everything went very naturally. So in my recovery process, um, I started to share poems on Instagram, and I noticed that other people found it very helpful. So I would go to work, and somebody would say, "Hey, you didn't post any quote or poem today. Like,
That is
I
so cool.
needed your like positivism because I wanted other people to be happy." Um, because I knew what it was like not to be happy, right? So last year around August, I started writing because I write in my diary, but sometimes I'm a very efficient person. So sometimes I felt like it took too much time. Then I was like, okay, you share poetry. Why not start writing your own and just see where it goes? And one of my friends had published a book. So I was like, okay, I can just, when it's done, I contact her publisher and see what happens. So I wrote it from August till December, and it was very healing for me because I used to be the person to stuck up my emotions and not talk about it. But I started talking about how I really felt. I started writing it down. If I felt down, I would move, or I would go for a walk or do my breathing exercises. Because it's one thing, in my opinion, to talk about it. But if you talk about it and you don't change anything, you stay stuck. So I really felt like writing was a way for me to release. And then I thought, okay, the poems of other people that I shared, other people found it helpful. Why not share everything I write about myself? Maybe it will help other people. It's been very vulnerable, I would say. Like suddenly your whole story is out there, your highs, your lows, but also I always said, if I only help one person with it, that's already enough.
Right. It's so true. And just like you and I, like we connected through, social media, and here we are connecting. That's the same thing with Instagram. There's people from all over the world could find your poems and your art. And I'm a big fan of those types of pages actually, where they post quotes and they post, just nice little things that you can see throughout the day. I even have apps that will give you a little notification and send you something positive. So that's wonderful. And you've been posting on your poems for how long on Instagram?
I started posting other people's poems around 2017 when I had lost my period and I wanted to get it back by only working with positive affirmations. So in the beginning, I was like, no, I can stay this skinny, not work on my issues, do the positive affirmations, and I will get it back. But unfortunately, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Um, so I've been sharing my own work actually since only a few months because I didn't tell anybody I was going to publish a book. At first, I wanted to use a different name, and then I was like, no, you're going all out. You will see what happens. Um, so yeah, it's been quite an interesting process. Um, but positive affirmations are one thing, but like you said, going to actually holistic healers, seeing the type of foods that work for your body, seeing where the trauma is stored in your body, and yeah, really tuning into your body and asking it, okay, I'm here. What do you need?
Right, right. That's so important because of course if you get sick with anything, that's your body letting you know like something's wrong. Like something needs to come to your attention. I've never asked this from other guests, but what is your favorite like I guess like when you're feeling kind of down and you just need a pick me up, what's like your favorite like holistic meal? Like for me, it's always been fruit. So like so far, I'm loving my blueberries and my bananas, and just like I really want to get into acai bowls because I don't know if I mentioned this prior, but I recovered from really severe allergies and to a point where I couldn't have berries, nuts, or I mean, I couldn't have so many different things, right? Like the only fruits I was able to have in the past were just apples, bananas, pears, and that cuts out
Wow.
everything, right? So for years, I just walked on eggshells and I just had to eat a very basic, plain diet. But now that I solved my allergies through herbs and cleanses and all of that, and I don't have to take Benadryl, like nothing, it's been amazing. Yeah, I've been really loving the berries right now because I haven't had them since like 2011. So I'm just like 9 years of the major fruits and veggies. It's kind of crazy, right? So now I feel more alive and rejuvenated because my body's like, yes, this is what we've been craving for so long. But I mean, what are you gonna do if you get hives from this, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
like what's your favorite meal that your body's normally like, feed me this?
I feel like now it's still because I have my in September I will have my period regularly for 1 year, so my body still craves a lot of carbs at the moment. But what I really love, because I eat vegetarian, I try vegan, but
Yeah.
it really differs a bit on the day. Like when you started talking about berries, I was like, yes, I want blueberries and dried figs. I love them.
Yeah.
But they have these Beyond Meat burgers, and then with broccoli and sweet potato fries, that always lifts me up.
Oh, there,
I
yeah, no. There's a place like that called Veggie Grill, and they have like Beyond products and Garden Inn, like those brands, and they're so good. In Belgium, do they have like, are they pretty like vegetarian friendly, and like how's like the diet over there?
well, I'm from the Netherlands, but I guess the Belgian diet is kind of similar. In the Netherlands, it's a lot of bread with, for example, chocolate sprinkles, peanut butter, cheese, ham.
Uh-huh.
And then for dinner, you would normally have potatoes, meat, and a vegetable, which is more like a northern diet, I would say. But I, even as a kid, I was never interested in meat, or I really loved soup as a kid.
Oh, yeah, same actually.
um, yeah, like more easily digestible. So I don't really follow a Dutch or Belgian diet, but I do notice in the Netherlands they have a lot more vegan and vegetarian options. But in Belgium, it's really on the rise. So even in Brussels, you would see more and more veggie places, like local businesses starting up with natural product, also more and more biological products. So it's really on the rise. And I'm always surprised when I go to a place now and they don't have like oat milk or
Yeah,
almond milk. I'm like, but why?
good times. Like, where are you? No, that yeah, like I think where was I? I think I went to a coffee shop, and this is when, like, before, like, I really started thinking like, okay, I need to cut out soy, because I mean, for me, because of my allergies, I couldn't have almond milk, oat milk, any of the good milks, right? So I was stuck with either dairy, which was no, or soy. So at the time I was like, okay, I guess I have to get soy. Now I'm okay, I can have any of them. But I remember going up there and they're like, sorry, we only have like 2% or whole. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, you don't have any other options? And so, yeah, that's why I ask, because I'm always so curious on how, the restaurants and the food scene is like in other places, especially other countries. Like, that is so crazy. I noticed also, okay, so with Reiki, so do you practice Reiki yourself, or did you get Reiki done for you?
Actually, both. I got Reiki done for me, and I have Shambhala Reiki. So it's a little bit different than the usual Reiki. They say it comes from Atlantis, so it's a more newer form of Reiki. You don't need an education that is as long, but it works with a silver violet flame, and specific ascended masters. I can send you a link to some information after,
Oh, cool, yeah.
because I haven't used it in a while. And also the sessions are a lot shorter. So whereas Reiki, you can go for like 1 hour,
Right.
with Shambhala Reiki, it's like 10 minutes and
Oh,
10-15 minutes. And you work with symbols as well. And you can do it at a distance or with someone in your house. But I always had it as a kid that I felt the energy in my hands, but I never used it. I was like, no, I'm not going to use it.
yeah.
And then the whole eating disorder thing happened. But then when I was healing, I was like, you know what? If I have it and I wanted my diploma for the Shambhala Reiki, like, why not? If it helps me at times or other people.
Right.
I don't use it a lot, but for example, when the lockdown started, I was like, okay, this is when people need healing. So now I'm going to use.
No, it's so true. Remote or not, like everyone, because let me tell you, like I had my own time frame during this COVID thing where I was like, my mental health, like it was really hard, like that. And see, this is also why I wanted to start the podcast, because I knew, like, for one, I'm a very extroverted person, as you can tell, and I love being around people, I love talking to people. And when everyone was like, you gotta stay home, you can't do anything, I was just like, what? So I miss just, the simplicity of going to like my favorite coffee shop, or just taking my son to an indoor play space. Like, I miss doing a lot of those things. And so I would FaceTime people a lot. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Like, because I would get so bored, right? And so now, now that we're months in with what's going on with the world, that's why this podcast, I'm like, I could use this as an outlet too. I can, feed my soul with knowledge and meet, great people. And it's a win-win. We all can benefit from this. So yeah, you're so right that everyone really needs healing right now. Do you take clients for Reiki, even remote right now?
Well, I don't usually take clients because I I prefer to do it when I feel it.
Mhm.
So in the beginning, I was like, oh, like when I felt like friends needed it, I would just ask them permission to do it.
Got it.
Because I notice when I ask money for it or when it become clients, then I'm not really inclined to do it. But that doesn't mean that you can't shoot a message and I can try. But
Right.
I felt like it has to come from my heart and from me, because I felt like I'm more meant to do something else right now.
Right. Yeah, you felt called. And it's so true when you feel that tug. in your soul. It's like you can't ignore it. And even if you tried, it's like it's just kind of like flashing on the side. That's what it does to me. And I can't stop thinking about it. I'm constantly like, okay, fine, I'll do it. So that's really cool. So you mentioned another thing. So working with family constellations. So tell us more about that. I've never heard of that.
Oh, really? Well, of course, everybody has like their family lineage, right? So, like we talked about, trauma is stored in the body, but it can just, maybe it's not only your trauma, it can be actually from your family as well.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that no matter, and just a disclaimer, my family is great. They're absolutely the best people ever.
Yeah.
But of course, in every family, there are specific topics that you have to deal with. It might be that in your family you always have allergies, or for example, eating disorders can be a thing in your family, and this can be traced back to maybe generations before.
Right.
You hear it in a lot of stories as well. If you had grandparents who went to war, that even you can feel sometimes
Like the
these trauma, because it goes from body to body, and until somebody decides to work on it, right?
in the self.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, so family constellations, basically everything, I believe that everything is energy, like all the connections and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And in family constellations, you put the energies back in the right place again.
Yeah.
So that's a very simple explanation, meaning that the mom is the mom, the dad is the dad, and the kids are the kids. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a really nice way to work on yourself and to work on your place in your family and in the world without needing them to be there, because their energies will be there. And it's really interesting to see also when you've done something like that, that everything kind of falls into place. So maybe in the future I want to do some studies on that, because it's so interesting.
Yeah, no, it is so interesting because I did hear something briefly in the past where, obviously we all come from, from our lineage. Trauma can get passed through cells, like even down to the core. And I remember hearing that, I'm like, what? That is insane. Especially, my family is from the Philippines. And so, all the things that happened in the Philippines. And then my parents came here in the 80s. And then it's just so, I'm just thinking like, oh my gosh, because I mean, I'm only aware of the trauma I experienced myself and my parents, and maybe something my grandparents, but generations and generations to ancestors, how would you know? You know what I mean? And I even I even did like ancestry.com to see if I can find anything. I've done 23andMe just to kind of figure out like where are all the parts of me from? And it's crazy. Have you done that test before where you found out like
No, I haven't.
oh my gosh, it's so interesting. I recommend it if you really want to know like your roots as far as like, I guess like migration wise, because I found out, so even though I'm mainly Filipino, I always had a feeling that there's no way I'm just that. Like there has to be more. So I found out that there was Chinese, Japanese, from Thailand, and there were some European roots. And I was like, well, dang, like I'm like literally from all over. So it's so cool. Like I just love investigating things, so that's why I'll find out whatever I can. Yeah, so it's really cool. So okay, so you also mentioned in here retreats. So did you mean like healing retreats or okay, yeah, tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I think it was 2018, 2 years ago. I went to a retreat in Cambodia, where 1 week, only vegan food, no phones, no nothing. You're just with yourself. You meditate, you do yoga. We even had a day of silence. And you're just in the retreat, and you really have to be with yourself and feel your emotions, because there's nowhere to go. You can't go on your phone. You can't go. You're just there with your emotions, which I think is very healing. Because for example, I use my phone a lot, and it's also a distraction, right? If I don't want to feel something, I'll just scroll through Instagram, and so that was very helpful. But a more helpful retreat that I went on, it was in Nepal last year, um, in June for 2 weeks, and there was also with yoga and meditation, but also with like trauma healings, so healing sessions that went very deep. um, with Marissa Klauer. She's really amazing. I can't really explain what she does. You have to experience it for yourself. But it's really on a cell level with souls. And you really notice a change after. Like, you don't attract certain patterns anymore, and you get insights. Like, it's super special. She works with energy, and it's magic. So
Oh.
that was very confrontational, but super good.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. Like the fact that it was in Cambodia of all places, like
Yeah.
I was thinking you did a retreat locally. I didn't realize it was like out of the country. My God, I need to know more about that. Maybe when things are open again, they'll have something like that. Because that,
Yeah.
I
It's
feel like
still there.
it really, okay, wow,
Yeah.
that's good to know. Because so for me, the closest thing I did to that cleanse that you did with the vegan is I did a raw fruits and veggies only diet for 10 days. So for 10
Oh,
days,
wow.
yeah. And on top of that, the herb mixtures I was taking was for parasite cleanse. And there's also a product that was created for a whole body detox. And so it was through a tea that you can brew. And this is through Food Over Drugs. So Food Over Drugs is a business owned by a wonderful woman named Sheila. And I always talk about her because I've learned so much from her and she's so like inspiring. So so she's like the master of herbs everything, and she can come up with just about any blend that will cure or help with whatever you're dealing with. And so so I did that 10-day raw fruits and veggies cleanse with her with the parasite supplement that she makes, and she makes all this herself, like all organic herbs, and the whole body detox tea that drains the lymphatic system, so you're really getting everything out. And I will tell you, that experience really got me to understand like your body is capable and is so strong. Because most people would be like, could you do that? Like, no carbs, no coffee, no, like nothing. Like you basically just, yeah, you're surviving off of salad and fruits. But man, like the first 2 days was really hard because, you kind of, your body does feel like, oh my gosh, like it's in shock. But then by day 3 through day 10, I was fine. I was operating like normal. And like I said, I have a toddler, I have pets, I have a lot of things I do from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, and I was able to function just fine. So that was the biggest sign to me, like, wow, even despite all the trauma I've been through, all the things I had to cure through my healing journey, I'm so, like your body can do anything. And so after that, I was like, I'm never going to doubt, the body healing ever. Like it can happen. And, yeah, like it's just so, and it shows you like how plants are so powerful. So I believe in plants. I really do. Yeah. So for that retreat, you've only been to one of those, or have you been to other ones too?
Yeah, the one then in Cambodia and the one in Nepal with Marissa. Yeah.
Oh my, so you've been to, I am,
Yes, two different ones.
oh my gosh, that is
Yeah.
so cool. And then the one in Nepal, was similar to what you did in Cambodia?
No, it was also with yoga, meditation, and a cleanse and very natural food that was all made by the Nepali people. But it was also focused very much on those healings. Uh, Energetic healings, I think, is the best word for it.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen, but it will turn your life upside down, basically.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how strong energy is, and how far away we are from traditional medicine right now. Like you said, with the company Food Over Drugs, of course, it's great that there's medicine for certain illnesses,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like we can do so much more when we treat our bodies properly, when we're in the right environment, when we use natural supplements as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, our bodies tell us so much. Like, when you get sick, your body is literally trying to tell you something,
Right.
in my opinion.
It's so true. Because if it was fine, nothing would be reacting. Like it wouldn't come
Yeah.
out and it wouldn't come out, in any other form, symptoms. So yeah, you're the first person I've ever met that has gone to these like really extravagant sounding retreats. I'm really intrigued by it. I definitely want to experience that myself because I love to travel, and I'm sure when things open up, like they'll start all of these again. But I mean, did you go by yourself or did you invite family? By yourself?
No, I usually travel by myself. I'm more, I wouldn't say I'm fully introvert or fully extrovert, because in a way I'm extrovert because I'm out here, I'm meeting random people, but I really like my alone time and traveling alone. Um, Whenever I go to these type of retreats, I'm always like super excited when I book, and then when I'm there, I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? This means you're gonna have 2 weeks of working on yourself on things you've been trying to avoid for years. What did you get yourself
Like
into,
you like
right?
rip the band-aid off.
Like, what are you doing here? You could have just stayed home and not worked on anything. And then it's like, yeah, but do you really want to be at the same place in 6 months? No, you don't. You want to move forward. And I think one thing I really learned with the retreats and the coachings is like, I always thought you could kind of skip the healing process and go straight to, well, let's say getting your period back, or straight to being healthy again. But unfortunately, that's not the case.
Right.
You have to go through the mud.
Mm-hmm.
You have to dig, and it's gonna hurt some days, but and you're gonna cry some days, but other days you'll be dancing on the street, and it's gonna be worth it. But
Right.
you cannot expect to be healed if you don't work on the underlying issue. I
Right.
think it's called toxic positivism as well. Like,
Okay.
you can't be positive about everything all the time. You need to go through the root issue,
Mhm.
admit it's there, feel your emotions, and then you can.
Right. Right. I agree with that. The acknowledging is huge. Because I mean, I know before my healing journey, I was in denial about things. Like, I definitely was like, I didn't own them. Like, or I felt ashamed because it was something about my past that I wasn't proud of, or, something that happened to me that I was not wanting to share. It's a lot. It takes a lot of inner strength to do that. And I just have to commend you for going on these retreats alone. And I mean, I love that you said you're just like, do I really want to stay or be in the same place in 6 months from now? Like, you really are taking control of your life. And that's what I feel like holistic medicine is all about, is really just taking control of what's going on around you, applying it so you can heal and be better. And that's essentially what I felt like I did with my own health, because I could have just, gone to the treatments my doctors told me, sat there, refilled my prescriptions every month, and that's it, just continuously get sick. And I mean, for me, so with my son, I knew that if I really want to be there for him in the best, possible shape for him, the best version of myself, I can't continue on this cycle. Like, I will literally just, it wouldn't go well. It really would not. And so, yeah, I just feel like for whatever reason that we choose to heal, it's better to just start, just do it, because you just, it will really make an impact in the future. But yeah, so okay, so your book, so what is it called? Because I'm going to link everything anyway, but tell us, like, how people can find you, what your book is called. Yeah.
Yeah. It's called Poems of Recovery, A Young Girl's Path to Recovering from an Eating Disorder and Amenorrhea. And it's on Amazon, so for the US people.
I'm ordering, by the way.
And yeah, everything went smoothly, I would say, but I didn't realize that after I published it, that people would start asking questions as well. Like,
Oh.
people were like, oh, did you have that? And I'll be like, oh, yeah, right. People are going to want to talk about it. But I feel like there's so much strength in vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the more open I am, the more open other people are.
True.
And if I show them what I did, maybe they get inspired, or they show me what they did, and then we can help each other. So that was the idea behind the book. And it's poetry then. And it's not always positive. I
Right.
mean, recovery is difficult. There's going to be days where you want to go back. There's going to be days
It's a roller
where
coaster.
you're like, oh my God, I came so far. It's ups and downs. It's a roller coaster,
Yeah.
but it is worth it. And I think it's also to show people you're not alone. Everybody, no matter how they look on the outside, they struggle with mental health.
Right.
um, and we should all, yeah, love ourselves a bit more and be nicer to ourselves and our body, because
Yeah.
in the end, they're all we have, right?
Exactly. No, it's so true. And yeah, that's why I'm so excited for everyone to hear this episode, because you had a lot of, great stories to tell and experiences that I'm sure most would be like, wow, I want to do that too, especially me. You're inspiring me to go on these retreats. I planned on going to a yoga retreat before COVID happened, and then it happened. I'm like, well, great, there was my window. So in the future, I definitely plan to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so and then other than your book on Amazon, where can they find you on Instagram?
So my Instagram name is Ananda.
Oh,
So it's just my name with 4 A's in the back. And on Facebook, it's just my name, like Ananda Jager, but you will find it in the group that you will be creating. And I have a website, so it's just my full name.com. So there's my email, some more poems, podcasts. This one will be up there as well. Just, yeah, anybody, I would say anybody can ask me anything. I'll do my best to answer as soon as possible, also with the time difference.
Yeah.
But it's so cool that nowadays we can connect to anybody in the world. Like, I'm so thankful to be here as well.
Oh, thank you so much. Seriously, I feel so grateful and so honored that you're here too. Because I mean, for me, like I said, I like with all the guests that have contacted me and were interested, I'm just like, yes, come one, come all. Like, I want to talk to everyone. So yeah, I'm definitely going to put all of your links in the description so everyone can find you there, and in our podcast insiders group, which I know people, if you want to, connect with our guests directly, we'll have that in our group. But yeah, thank you so much again, Ananda, for coming on today, sharing your stories. It's been so inspiring, and I know you're going to inspire for sure more than one person. Okay. Like, it's going to be a lot of people. So yeah.
Thank you.
No, thank you. All right, guys, we'll tune in until the next episode. Thank you.